So the acoustics. Starting this video off with the Doves because they are the ones that I think of kind of as the icon of this little deal. So 63 Dove. This one is really light, but it's also been in the family since 1963 when it was purchased brand new. My dad actually purchased this guitar when he was looking for a bass, the EBO bass. And so this guitar was purchased at that point in time. It has had the bridge re-glued down. But other than that, this guitar has the original Dove, everything on it, and it is mostly a case clean. Probably need to clean it right now. But this guitar has been really just it's been babied, but also not, not played. It has not been a case queen, though it has kind of been a case queen. So there's a lot of history to this guitar for my family because it was my dad's. It's out of tune right now because I didn't try tuning it up. I wasn't thinking I was going to do any strumming of it. But this guitar, these are, spruce tops, maple sides. You'll notice this one is not nearly as flamey as what most people think of the modern Doves as having. But in '63, this was a Brazilian rosewood, frets, neck or fretboard. That's what I'm trying to say. And this was the second year for this guitar. '63 was second year for the Dove, so a lot's transpired since then. But this particular one holds a special place in my heart. Not so much because of how it sounds or how it plays or anything like that, but because it was my dad's. And it was my first time picking up an acoustic guitar and playing it. So, they're not cheap. Only buy one if you absolutely need one. But Doves are great guitars. And let me show you the rest of them because we have two more. So almost 30 years after the first Dove, my dad ordered this Dove. And this one was made by the Gibson Acoustic Custom Shop. And this one is a 12-string because Dad wanted something different to celebrate the 30th birthday. Turns out it came in a year early. The guitar I have this one tuned down half step. So it is, actually it's turned down a whole step. So it's tuned to open D. And it, God, it plays so good. 12 strings are unique in amongst themselves, but this particular one is one that only a handful of these have ever been made by the Gibson, because the 12 string has always been a Hummingbird and J45 thing and not necessarily a Dove thing. This one does have the flamed maple sides and to a certain extent the flamed maple back, but spruce and maple. This one has the skunk stripe on the neck because of the maple neck, which also has a little flame to it. So that's something unique to this particular model, is the flaming on the neck for this guitar. You can't really see it all the time, but very rare to find a Dove with a flamed neck, and that makes this one unique. Probably going to die owning this guitar. And then 30 years after the Dove 12 string was made, this one was purchased. This is a Dove USA production guitar. No custom shop, no special, nothing done to it. This is just USA. Flame maple, back and sides, spruce front, spruce top. This guitar is a joy to play, and I almost think it's easier to play than the 63 is. Cherry Sunburst, man. Red guitars. What can I tell you? I'm a guy. That's my thing. So this one does have the mahogany neck versus the maple of the, I'm almost positive the other one is a maple neck on the 12 string. But I believe the original one was a mahogany neck too, though. It might be a maple neck too. I've never really looked to see what the original specs were on the 63. But these guitars are actually really good, like really good. So are they expensive? Yes, but they're less expensive than the SJ200, which is like which is about $500 more than these guitars. $300 to be sure. I like the Dove better. I like the 25.5-inch scale length. So, Cherry Sunburst. I love it. Hummingbirds. Like this one. This one is a prototype, so it's kind of a unique one from Gibson. Does not have the carved hummingbird pickguard, which I think is odd, but maybe that was part of the prototype process, was figuring out how it would sound and play and everything like that. Not really sure. But this guitar is a stuff on my hand. This guitar is really fun to play, and it's really comfortable, and I don't know why my dad didn't really like hummingbirds, but they were his favorite bird, but the Dove was his favorite guitar, so I don't have a good answer for that. This too was one of those guitars that you buy and you think it's going to be amazing, and it turns out it is. It's quite amazing. This guitar has 13 gauge strings on it, so it has a little bit different sound than one of the ones that has 12s on it, but I think that this particular one has a much deeper, better sound to it than the ones that have 12 gauge strings on it. So I'm a fan. SJ200, the jumbo guitar. This is kind of what they call them, the king of the flat tops. These guitars are great. And I gotta tell you, I own an Epiphone J200, one of the inspired by Gibson models. And it was a good guitar. This is a better guitar. A much better guitar. Significantly better guitar. And it's, that other one was about $1,000, and this was more than that. This was a demo shop unit, so it was significantly less than the $5,000 that they want for one of these from Gibson New. If you are a musician and you need this sound, it's worth every penny. to get the upgrade. Also, these are plastic bridge pins. Get rid of them. I'm going to get some that are ivory because they're better. Either going to get ivory or I'm going to get ebony bridge pins because these are nice. They're okay, but this guitar with the price point that it is at should come with better than plastic bridge pins. If you're going to put a high-end guitar together, use high-end parts. So that's going to be my first modification on this guitar, is to put in different bridge pins, because these bridge pins are nice, but I can promise you that one day we will do a video and show you the difference between these two sounds. And I'll bet you it is a noticeable difference, even versus just, you know, my low budget recording. So thoughts, there you go. The Gibson G45, also known as the poor man's J45. This guitar is one of the studio versions that has the maple, basically everything. Or not maple, walnut, basically everything. Fretboard, you know, they're really basic guitars. They're really basic guitars, flat guitars. They've upgraded it and had it where it has like an ebony fretboard and some other stuff for the newest generation. Has that sound hole that I'm not a fan of. But these guitars, when they came out, were less than $1,000. And for an American-made guitar from Gibson, this was kind of a radical departure. This one was given to me as a gift. I play the heck out of it. It is absolutely never going to be mistaken for a hummingbird. But it makes a good guitar to take to the beach with you. You don't care if you get it dirty. You don't care if sand gets in it. You don't care if it's not perfectly taken care of. It's a cheap American-made Gibson. And it's kind of nice because of that. Now, that said, we're going to play an Epiphone later, and then it'll make you go, interesting. But this guitar, this particular generation, the first generation G45, is a better guitar than the newest ones, I think. I like these better. I feel like they feel better. They sound different. Like I said, there's upgrades to the newer one, better electronics, everything like that. I still keep this one instead of upgrading because I feel like it's a better guitar. I played it so much that the satin neck is now shiny. So that'll tell you how much I play this guitar. Well, speaking of that Epiphone, I'm going to go ahead and just play it right now. So this is a humming dove, as I call it, but it's actually a Dove Studio Epiphone model. And it's a pretty cheap guitar. It's like a couple $100 guitar, max. If you pay more than $200 for this guitar, you've probably paid too much. But it's pretty. It is a laminate back and side, so same kind of setup, same kind of construction that you would get in a ES model guitar. And made in Indonesia, not the highest quality electronics or anything like that, but real super duper basic electronics. Overall, I would say that these inspired by Gibson guitars are nice. And It's tinny compared to that. And these are good strings on this guitar. This guitar needed better strings because the inspired by Gibson models come with really terrible, you know, the inspired by Gibson ones come with really terrible strings. If you value playing a guitar, change the strings as soon as you get one. I keep this one because it's a Humming Dove and it's cheap. It was a really inexpensive guitar, and it's nice. But it's never going to be mistaken for anything above what it is, which is a couple $100 guitar. Does make nice to take to the beach though. This one and the G45 have been to the coast here in Texas multiple times. So, you know, what can I tell you? They're cheap guitars, but cheap guitars have a place in your heart too. Speaking of cheap guitars that can hold a special place in your heart, this is a Martin D15M. And Martin D15Ms are not expensive guitars. These guitars are satin. They, they're just basic mahogany guitars, and they're all mahogany. The only thing I think is different is, I think it's a rosewood neck, or not rosewood fretboard with some binding on it, but basically they're really inexpensive guitars. 15-ish, $100 US. I keep this guitar because every once in a while I want to play a Martin, and it feels like a Martin, and it's the best Martin I've ever played. And I've had it for a while, probably about just a little bit less than I've had the G45, and the neck is still satin. So which one do I play more? I play the Gibson. You know, inexpensive guitar. They're good guitars. Why do I keep it? Sentimental value. It's my only Martin. I have no desire to own another Martin. So this is the one. If I want a Martin sound, I pick up this. But it's got a mahogany everything. Top, back, sides, neck. You know, everything is mahogany. But I'll show you something different. This guitar, way more expensive than the next one. So, this is a Fender New Porter. And it was originally made in Korea, I think. Yeah, I think so. I've scratched that off, so I can't tell you for sure because I scratched that off. I actually did that myself. But this guitar has cheap tuners, but has a bone nut and a bone saddle and ebony bridge pins. And when this guitar was new, it was about $185. This was in 1986. So even if you tripled the price, it's a $600 guitar. And it plays great. The frets have been leveled, compliments to great Southern music. They are in Houston, Texas, or just outside of it, though Kevin Perry is probably about to shut that shop down. He's gotten old enough in age that, but he's a master luthier, and he is, in my opinion, the guy. Dreadnought shape, 25.5-inch scale length. Everything about this guitar is comfortable, super comfortable. It's easy to play. The neck is simple. I think the back of it was originally satin like this. So you can see that it's a highly polished gloss now. I've played this place. This guitar has been to the beach in Galveston no less than 100 times. Is it ever going to be mistaken for a custom shop guitar? No. But it's good, and it's really good. And the fact that it is laminate, I think it's spruce top. No, it's mahogany top with laminate back and sides, or maybe it's laminate, maybe all of it's laminate. It's something along those lines. It's not a really expensive guitar, but the build quality on this guitar, I mean, everything still fits together. The black binding on it is smooth. I mean, just look. Catch the reflections on it. Everything about this guitar, for a really inexpensive guitar, is really well made. And like I say, is it ever going to be mistaken for a custom shop guitar? No. And I'll show you why it's never going to be mistaken for a custom shop Fender. This guitar is why it will never be mistaken for a custom shop Fender guitar. Fender had been making like just cheap guitars for a long time, a very long time. And in the early 2000s, they started thinking about what can we do to make American-made acoustics again, right? And so, I forget exactly when, but somewhere along the way, they drew the guy that had done the work on our 12-string Gibson Dove, the custom shop guy from Gibson, Ren Ferguson, and he is still making guitars to this day. Ren is an absolute amazing luthier and a designer and everything that goes into it. And he is 100% the real deal. Started off doing other stuff and came to guitars late. So when he came into Fender's deal, they said, what can we do? And this guitar, the TPD1 and the TPD2 are what they came up with. This particular one is a TPD2. These guitars are just amazing. I mean, when you play it, you know I don't know why these guitars failed, other than Fender had been making cheap guitars for a very long time. And suddenly there was a $2,500 guitar. And everybody was like, what? I'm not paying $2,500 for a Fender when I can get a Fender for $100 in a gift pack for my kid. But these were custom shop made guitars. They're built right alongside the same lines as Guild. And they are really good guitars. I think it's ebony fretboard, abalone rosette around the sound hole. There's nothing bad about these guitars. And the fact that you can get them for stupid cheap means that they're a bargain. So, seriously, I'm a fan. I love this guitar. I'll die with it. This is one of those ones that someone will play it after I'm dead. So, anyway, on to the next. So, this one is a Harmony Monclair. And it is not a flat top. It is actually a arch top. F-hole guitar. And it does have a piezo pickup that's been added to it. Now, this guitar, in amongst itself, is not that great of a guitar. It is actually really cheap. Even the neck binding and everything is inexpensive. But these guitars were cheap even back in the 40s and 50s when they were made. And they don't sound all that amazing acoustically. They are cheap. And I've kept this guitar for the reason that I'm about to show you. This guitar, when it's acoustic, has no real sound to it. Even with flat wounds or anything else on it, it's just basic guitar. But then you plug it in and these guitars, when you put a piezo on them, are actually kind of epic. So there's really no, there's really no kind of way to explain it other than sometimes cheap guitars are actually worth owning. But anyway, this guitar stays around because I just like the way it sounds when I plug it in. And so, Harmony Monclair, cheap guitar from the 50s. Worth owning? Yeah, that's up to you. But if you've got one, keep it. Put a piezo on it. Might turn it into a usable instrument. So in 1997, Taylor put out the 810 WMB. It was originally a WMB was supposed to be with more bass. And people have speculated with mahogany binding because of the way the binding is on these guitars. There's all kinds of stuff that came out. But WMB was with more bass. Ebony fretboard, bound necks that are like rosewood bound necks. These guitars were really just, before Fender had their own, or before Taylor had their own custom shop, this was what they would do. They would come along and they'd put out like special run guitars. And this was a 97 model summer deal. And these guitars were loved or hated. I mean, this one, I went in to buy a Martin D18, or no, it was D28. And the reason I did is because I wanted a Martin really bad. I wanted something that had a deep resonant sound. And I walked into Straight Music in March of 1998. I had a big wad of cash from a tax return. And the D28 was sitting on the wall, but next to it was this guitar. And in my head, I was like, I've never heard of a Taylor. I said, hey, what's a Taylor? He said, that's a pretty good guitar. I said, well, let me play it. So I sat down with it and played a G chord. And what I discovered was, for $1,600, I could get a Martin sound out of a Taylor. And I came home with it because of that. This is the guitar I came home with. $1,600 drive out, case and everything. And this was... This has been a great guitar. You know, I mean, everything about it just feels right. The neck is incredibly playable. A lot of times, Taylor guitars will have scarf joints, which is not a bad thing. Plenty of guitars have scarf joints that have lasted forever. But this particular one does not. This model does not have a scarf joint. And it's unique because of that. Because of when it was made and what it is, it's unique. And I've had a couple of Taylors that I have let go of, but this one right here has sang to me every time I've picked it up. And I don't know, I just... So, anyway, but there's a guitar that gives this one a run for its money in sound. We'll talk about it next. So Bob Taylor brought inexpensive guitars to the masses that sounded great, gave amazing sounds, and then he made some amazing guitars, the American Dream series guitars, 8027, 8017, 8022, or whatever they're up to now. There's several different ones, I think, now. But the AD guitars are great guitars. This is I'm going to get this right because I always get it wrong. 417E Rosewood, 417ER. And this guitar, rosewood back and sides, Sitka spruce top, I think. I don't think it's an Adirondack. But this guitar is one of the ones that has, and I can't see, I don't know if I can, you'll be able to see it, but that right there, and then right up here, it has a scarf joint. 2 different scarf joints. Not a bad deal. I think it's overpriced for what it is, considering it has scarf joints, but that's my own thing. Taylor insists that that it makes it stronger. And since Andy Powers is the guy that came up with these guitars, I'm going to say he's probably got a pretty good understanding of luthier work. He's the one that designed the X bracing or the V-class bracing. He's a guy, and he's done some amazing work. And I got to tell you, these guitars are great. And when you play one, it really is. It's got a muted sound. It's different than a J45. It's different than a G45. It's different than any of the slope shoulders that I've heard. And I like it. It's got kind of a warm sound that really has a folk guitar sound to it. Is it going to be a bluegrass player? Nah, not really. I don't think so. I think it'll always be a little something of its own. I think it'll be folk rock, maybe some, parlor playing in a coffee shop or something. But this guitar is the first time I've really, really, really enjoyed playing a Taylor since the 810. The 8027 and 8017 that I had, both of them were good guitars, but this one makes those look kind of amateurish. That said, they're supposed to. They're inexpensive versions of these guitars. The 417 ER, I kept it because it is one that I felt like could be played anywhere, everywhere, and I didn't mind taking it to, like I said, out and about coffee shop or just wherever. I mean, it's a good guitar, and it's Taylor, and you can plug it in and play it anywhere. That's the beauty of it being electric, or have the pickup in it. The Taylor Atmos or whatever they call their pickup system. But this guitar is really nice, and I'm looking forward to seeing if 25 years from now it sounds and plays like the 810 did 25 years after I bought it. So, and with that, I think that's all of the acoustics as well. So, I think that's all of them. So, kind of a much shorter video for the acoustics than with all of the electrics that'll be playing. So, like I say. Anyway, stick around. There's more. Till next time.